Joe King walks out on stage and says,
"Hello, yes, my name's Joe King. I'm not joking, though I prefer to be called Juris Dr. King. Okay, so yes, we've been getting a lot of emails and text messages from the show's various fans, so I thought we'd do a little mailbag and answer some fan questions."
King takes out sheets of paper from his pocket and says,
The first one is from Trent in Sheboygan, who writes, "What the hell is this Joe King show crap? Where the hell is Saturday Night Alive?" Well, Trent, I'm glad you asked. The writers of Saturday Night Alive have decided to join the living strikers of the Writers Guild of America and therefore are on strike. Further, the cast of Saturday Night Alive, John Belushi, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, Norm Macdonald, Gilda Radner, Jan Hooks, and Denitra Vance, stand in solidarity with our dead writers, and therefore I'm up a creek without a paddle until the living writer's strike is resolved. As soon as it's resolved, Trent, we'll be back on the air with Saturday Night Alive. But until then, just try to enjoy this show, The Joe King Show. Okay, the next message is from Chloe in New York, who writes, "For the love of God, please stop texting this number." Okay, so as some of you may know, I do text out a link to this show to a handful of people, including Chloe here, who apparently wants me to stop doing so. The only question I have for Chloe is this. If you want me to stop texting you at, quote, this number, do you have another number I can reach you at? Okay, I'll be glad to text that number instead. Okay, very good. Anyway, Brad from Missouri writes, "Why are you on YouTube and not instead a podcast?" Great question from Brad. Well, Brad, with Saturday Night Alive, I've always enjoyed the cognitive dissonance of being the #1 audio-only sketch comedy show on the video platform YouTube. But honestly, as far as I can tell, it's easier to make money on YouTube than it is as a podcast, okay? I understand that YouTube videos usually contain an actual video component that we don't have, and that stylistically it would make more sense for us to be a podcast than to be on YouTube. So therefore, we haven't ruled out eventually moving to a podcast platform. But ideally, we would like a bigger fish to realize the potential of these shows and to buy us out and have it get monetized as a podcast. It's difficult on your own without a lot of working capital to get advertisers on podcasts versus how easy and automatic it is on YouTube, okay? So big fish out there listening, it's a great idea to have deceased former SNL cast members putting out audio-only sketch comedy. Many of them did it as part of the National Lampoon Radio before they got their breaks on SNL. And it's a great way to get into the podcast game and to honor deceased people as the hosts. Not only historical figures who have long since died, but also those modern-day celebrities who will eventually die, such as today's show's guest, Sinead O'Connor. I can only do so much alone, so the lines are open if you wish to discuss making this a much bigger production, okay? Okay, very good. Finally, Jezebel from California writes, "Why do you have such a lack of diversity on your show? LGBTQ and people of color have been underrepresented." Well, Jezebel, we've had plenty of people of color as guests on the Joe King Show, including Vida Blue, Jim Brown, Tina Turner, Richard Pryor, and Kobe Bryant. Now, as far as for the LGBTQ community, we did have on Joan of Arc, who was known to dress as a man. Okay, but yes, here at the Joe King Show, we respect diversity and hope to have on more members of the LGBTQ community. They just have to die first, okay? The #1 rule of being a guest on the Joe King Show is that you must be dead. So as soon as they start dying off in bigger numbers, we promise to have them on. Okay? Okay, very good.
King walks off stage and onto another stage, sits at a seat behind a desk and says,
"Please welcome to the program the recently departed famed Irish singer and musician, Sinead O'Connor."
Sinead O'Connor emerges from behind a curtain and waves at the audience. Applause, applause, applause. O'Connor walks over and sits at a seat next to King's desk. King:
"Sinead, welcome to the program."
O'Connor: "It's actually Shiwada."
King: "What's that now?"
O'Connor: "In 2018, I changed my name to Shiwada Sakwat."
King: "Wait, you had this beautiful sounding Irish name, Sinead O'Connor, and you changed it to that?"
O'Connor: I converted to Islam. King.
Very well. In that case, welcome to the show. Shuada.
O'Connor. Thank you for having me. King.
Anyway, you were born in 1966 in Dublin to parents Joanna and Sean, a structural engineer and later a barrister. You know, I myself am an attorney.
O'Connor. Yeah, and I heard you can't help but always bring that up. King.
That's true. I'd give you a card, but I don't think you'll need an attorney now that you're dead. Anyway, your parents divorced, and in 1979, you decided to go live with your dad, who was then living in America.
O'Connor. That's correct. My mother was both physically and mentally abusive, and I needed to get away from her.
King. Okay, however, 2 years later at 15, your shoplifting and truancy led you being put into a Magdalene asylum run by nuns for 18 months.
O'Connor. Being there helped me in ways with writing and music, but in other ways it was terrible. Unruly students there were sometimes sent to sleep in the adjoining nursing home, and at the time I felt that I had never, and probably would never, experience such panic and terror and agony over anything.
Okay. Anyway, you later moved back to Ireland and formed a band called the Tun Tun Macoot.
O'Connor. My time as a singer for Tun Tun Macoot brought me the attention of the music industry, and I was eventually signed by Ensign Records, and that led me to writing the song Heroin with U2's The Edge for the soundtrack to the film Captive.
King, very good. Your first solo album, The Lion and the Cobra, was a sensation when it was released in 1987. It reached gold record status and earned you a Best Female Rock Vocalist Grammy nomination.
O'Connor. Yes, that was an exciting time. The album was influenced by Bob Dylan, David Bowie, Bob Marley, Susie and the Banshees, and the Pretenders, so I have to give them credit for my album being a success.
King, very good. Now, your second album, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, included perhaps your most famous song, Nothing Compares to You, and gained considerable attention, as did you, somewhat for your shaved head.
O'Connor. A style choice I share with you, I see.
Okay, yes, so I doubt you shaved yours due to male pattern baldness. What made you shave yours?
O'Connor. The record label wanted me to be more girly, and it was my way of telling them to fuck off.
Okay, and that album was nominated for 4 Grammys, but you boycotted the ceremony.
O'Connor. Those awards are based on false and destructive material values, and I didn't want any part of that.
Okay. In 1990, you stated that you wouldn't perform if the U.S. national anthem was played before one of your concerts, and Frank Sinatra even threatened to kick you in your ass for saying that.
O'Connor. I'm still waiting for that ass kicking.
Okay, and now perhaps the moment you're best remembered for, October 1992. You were the musical guest on Saturday Night Live, the show I lovingly spoof with my show Saturday Night Live. And after your performance, you tore up a picture of the Pope on live TV. Do you regret doing that?
O'Connor. I'm not sorry I did it. It was brilliant. I was protesting sexual abuse in the church, but it was very traumatizing. It was open season on treating me like a crazy person.
Okay. What are your overall thoughts on the fame you achieved?
O'Connor. I feel that having a #1 record derailed my career, and my tearing the photo put me back on the right track. The media was making me out to be crazy because I wasn't acting like a pop star was supposed to act. It seems to me that being a pop star is almost like being in a type of prison. You have to be a good girl. King lunges over, puts his hand on O'Connor's knee, and says,
"Oh, I see, and you're more of a naughty girl, huh?"
O'Connor bats King's hand away, stands up, takes out a picture of King from her pocket, and tears it to pieces. Applause, applause, applause. As O'Connor exits the stage, King says,
"Well, that ended a little more abruptly than I expected. Anyway, I guess that's all the time we have for this show.